Well, hopefully you all are here for the intermediate Isle Royale backpacking trip. First, my name is Lainey. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the Wilderness Program Director here at Camp Manitowish. Really, my journey with the outdoors and with camping started when I was an 8-year-old camper at a summer camp in Michigan. As I got older, I got to go on some pretty cool trips with them before I ultimately became a seasonal staff member and then got to lead some really cool canoeing and backcountry backpacking trips for youth and adults. And then fast forward a few more years, I became the full-time program director at my home camp before transferring over here to Manitowish just this past January. So almost a year and a half ago now. But that's a little bit about me. So Kenzie, take it away.
Hey, thanks, Lainey. Hi, everyone. I'm Kenzie. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the Outpost Program Director for this 2022 season. I'm from Colorado initially, but have been around camp since, Tuesday's moving a little slow for me today. I've been around camp since 2009, and I was a camper and participant for a long time there. Started working on staff in 2017, have worked in a lot of different capacities here within camp, summer camp leadership as a sectional, and most recently as an outpost trip leader. So I'm incredibly excited to be in this position and to talk to you about your trips. So let's do just that. Let's talk about your trip to the Isle Royale this summer. This is a pretty incredible trip. And often one we hear lots of incredible stories from our participants and folks out there. So when you all get to camp, you will kind of immediately dive into that pre-trip preparation and the building of the community right away. You show up, you meet your other trip mates, you meet your leader as soon as you get here, and then you're spending all your time together while you have those few days in camp, traveling to meals together, eating together, packing out together, and just building that community kind of from the get-go. And a lot of the time is spent focusing around building your community before you head out on your trips. So with that, you get to do a whole day of leadership facilitation, which includes team building activities and some leadership initiation, all led by our wonderful leadership staff here. And that takes place out on the low ropes course and the high ropes course. Really fun day with a lot of neat activities built into that. And then you have what's called a shakedown day. So this is kind of where you get to brush the dust off and you get to practice being on trail, get comfortable with the weight of a pack on your back and do a hike around camp. This may be a lot of people's first time backpacking, or maybe just the longest trip that you've been on with a pack on your back. So really getting to learn those technical skills, get comfortable with them, and get familiar with the packs and the gear before you head out there. And then the last part of that pre-trip prep is the packing out. So looking over your food and the menu, what you're going to be eating for those 14 days on trail, and then packing out your gear, setting up all the different gear, the tents, the stoves, getting used to using the different equipment, the maps, looking over your route, practicing with compasses, and really just getting comfortable and hands-on with all the equipment that you're going to be taking while you're out there. And then the time comes where you all get to hop on a bus and drive up to Michigan with the other groups. You'll stay the night at Fort Wilkins Campground in Copper Harbor before hopping on a ferry early the next morning. That ferry is going to bring you out to the island, Isle Royale, and your journey begins there. So the Isle Royale is a pretty cool place. It's an island in the middle of Lake Superior. It's actually the largest island on Lake Superior, which is pretty incredible that we get to go explore a place like that. The groups will spend their time kind of partially circumnavigating the island, working around one way or the other, going all the way to the other side of the island and coming back, staring at Lake Superior the whole time, which is a pretty incredible view with lots of varying terrain. So your day-to-day is going to be some more flat cruising trails and then some pretty cool elevation game through different forests and terrain there. And then, you're right on Lake Superior. So those refreshing swims and dips, it's a cold lake, but it can feel pretty amazing after a long day hiking on the trail. And hiking an average daily mileage anywhere, honestly, from 5 to 15 miles, depending on the type of terrain and where you need to go that day. So pretty varied, but pretty incredible scenery and landscape out there. And then the weather during the summer, it's pretty similar to what we experience here in the Northwoods. It's varied. So you'll have those long rainy days with some pretty big thunderstorms, and then those beautiful, pristine sunny days like you see in the picture here that you're just hoping never end, which makes swimming in Lake Superior so much more refreshing and rewarding. So you get a good mix of all the weather and as well as wildlife, a pretty good mix out there. Some really incredible wildlife on the island, actually a pretty dense population of moose and wolves out there. So it's not uncommon that you're going to see some moose while hiking along the trail, as well as those other little critters and birds and whatnot. And then the fun stuff. This is generally one of the bigger questions. A lot of the questions you submitted were centered around gear, especially given that this may be a lot of participants' first experience in Outpost, or even just with the discipline of backpacking itself. So I saw that we had a good amount of gear questions submitted beforehand. If I don't answer specifically what you were hoping to get to, we will be sending a what to bring list after this webinar, along with a recording of the webinar. And we're always available to answer questions, but kind of gonna go through some of the big things here. And the top of that list is a pair of sturdy hiking boots. You want to make sure you have a good pair of boots. You're going to be wearing them every day for the 14 days spent on the island. So making sure they have sturdy soles, they come up high and support your ankles. A big thing to note with hiking boots is if you're buying new ones, make sure they are worn before you come out here. It can be pretty tough to just put on a new pair of boots and go straight onto the trail. So just wearing them around your house, taking them for some walks, give them some love before you come here. And like I said, that what to bring list, it's pretty awesome. It'll outline the type and quality of boot you should look for. It's got some examples on there. It gives you a whole kind of big breakdown if you don't know where to start with those. And if you already have a good sturdy pair of boots, you don't need to buy another pair for this trip. If they're comfortable and they work, that's great. Take them out there. And along with hiking boots, we like to just emphasize some good quality hiking socks. You cover a lot of mileage on the trip, so you want a good pair, and that's often personal preference. Some people like wearing liner socks, others prefer just to have a good sturdy wool sock. So just kind of trying out some things and finding what's comfortable and preferable for you. That's probably the bigger piece of technical gear. Camp provides the backpacks. We've got a whole fleet of those up here, so we'll fit them to each participant before they go out there. Another thing to just think about on bringing here is a good rain suit, especially if you're considering more tripping beyond this. I saw rain pants were on the list twice. That's probably just to outline that they can be used as a layer for wet and dry clothes. So no, you do not need 2 pairs of rain pants. One pair works great. It works for all the different layering, but rain gear in general is a great layer, whether you're just want something during the day or to layer over all your other layers in the campsite in the evening. And then a good pair of shoes to air out your feet in the campsite at night. You're in some pretty big hiking boots throughout the day, so it can be nice to air your feet out while you're walking around camp. A lot of people prefer Crocs. If you have the ones with the holes, these won't be what you're allowed to cook in, but they all have a pair of Crocs called Bistro Crocs, which actually don't have the holes in them, and they meet our cooking standards while on trail. So if you're looking to look into a pair of those shoes, those are highly recommended by past leaders and participants. And then, like I said, we really provide most of that other technical gear besides the clothes and those hiking boots. And so then here, just to bring us down to the optionals and comfort items, 2 weeks is a long time to be out on trail. So we like to mention that you can also bring those personal comfort items and fun stuff on a trip like this. For our musicians out there, that could be small musical instruments, harmonicas, and then things like cameras, books, Kindles, watercolors. And I always like to touch on journals. I really, really recommend bringing a journal. It's not only great for self-reflection, but it's also wonderful to document the experience and kind of take a little piece of it home with you at the end of the day. Great. And then this pre-camp preparation is kind of what we consider before you even arrive to camp. So pre-trip, pre-camp preparation. I know we're all getting excited. Whoa, summer's getting closer and closer every day. So these are just some ways you can start thinking about your experience and start prepping yourself now. So these 4 categories that we have on the screen, the emotional, mental, physical, and community, are some of the big 4 categories that we think highlight a lot of the challenges that you may face while you're out on trail. And there are ways you can prepare yourself for these things. So let's just talk about them. I would say mainly just start reflecting on your experience now. Just think about what it's going to be like to be on trail for this long, for maybe the longest period you've been on trail before. In terms of mental and emotional, think about the ways that you might be challenged out there. So some of the challenges that you may face on a daily basis. What is your brain going to do to respond to those? What type of emotional support may you need from your group, from your trip leader? And then just kind of start thinking about the ways you can address those challenges on a daily basis, or the tools or skills you might already have and might need to bring out there to help you while you're going through them. And then the community. It can be pretty nerve-wracking to jump into a new community like this, meeting your trip mates and your leader right before you go out on the trip. So take time to think about what entering this new space is going to look like and how you want those interactions to look. And along with that emotional support, think about the support you might need entering into this new community space and how you can figure out how to ask for help. That can often be a very difficult thing to do. So it's important to think about that now and to even start practice that communication early on. And then finally, that physical there, maybe the more obvious ways to prepare yourself for the trip. This is a high mileage hiking trip, so it's going to be physically challenging. It's important to start thinking about moving our bodies and the physical preparation you're going to put into this trip. You obviously don't want to just come straight from sitting on a couch to putting on a pair of boots and hopping on the island. So things that we encourage you do now. Go for walks, bike rides, some low endurance activities, swimming, yoga is really great. And if you have the accessibility to go for some hikes, maybe go for some gentle hikes around your area, but you don't need to be pushing yourself too hard. We certainly don't want you to injure yourself or get any overuse injuries before you head out there. We want you on these trips. We're super excited for you all to head out on trail.
Well, thanks, Kenzie, for all that really great information. So I want to take some time to touch on some upcoming communications and just important dates to be aware of. So first and foremost, last week, you should have received your final information packet, and that would have highlighted April 30th as a date of when our final payments are due. So just make note of that. You should have also received an email about a COVID town hall specifically for Outpost participants that will be happening on April 26th. So we hope to see you there, but if you can't make it, we'll be sure to send out the recording as well. And then we get to the fun stuff. We get opening days and closing days. So our intermediate one opening day will be on June 19th, and then we'll send you home on July 9th. And then our intermediate twos will be joining us July 24th, and then heading home August 13th. So that is super exciting. I know we're all really looking forward to seeing your faces and getting you in touch with your trip groups. So another important email that you would have received right after you registered was from Camp Docs, and it would have said, hey, time to fill out your camper's profile on Camp Docs, which is really great and pretty typical. Also would have explained trip insurance, or would have mentioned trip insurance. So I just wanted to take some time to talk about this, especially as folks get into Outpost. I really like to make sure that we talk about this and understand the importance of trip insurance. I know we never like to think of, kind of the unthinkable of, oh, hey, I stubbed my toe and broke my toe right before my trip and I can't go. Or, let's say you're on the island and something happens and you need to be taken off your trip for some reason. Trip insurance is a way to kind of, have another extra layer of protection in a financial sense. If something were to happen, trip insurance can oftentimes alleviate some of that stress if something were to happen. So just encourage you to reach out to Camp Docs if you have questions about specific coverage or what they cover, different plans, things like that. And I definitely highly encourage you to seek that out if that is of interest for you and your family. And then COVID considerations. As I mentioned, there is going to be a COVID town hall, which is going to dive into this really at a deeper level, but I think it's worth mentioning a few things here while I have some time with you. So before camp, we're asking that participants monitor for signs and symptoms. We're also asking that participants are fully vaccinated and that you provide proof of negative PCR test administered 72 hours prior to arrival. If you'll be seeking an exemption for our vaccination policy, I encourage you to reach out to myself or Ben Hoffman, our operations director, as soon as possible so that we can start having that conversation with you. But yeah, those are the things we'll be looking for before you arrive at camp. And then opening day, if you all experienced our opening day drop off last year, it'll look very similar. So you will kind of drive through the MLC drive. We'll help you unload your luggage, say some goodbyes at the car with your participant, and then we will take them to be kind of introduced to their group, and then we'll send you on your way. And then housing, we're as fun as Tent Village was in the Smith Village lawns last year. We are very excited that we will be returning to our Smith Village cabins to be housing our Outpost participants before and after their trips. So that will be an exciting return to a sense of normalcy. And then masking will continue to be an important part of our mitigation strategies. And mainly where this will come into play for Outpost will be during public interactions or public transport. So if you think about, taking the bus up to IR or to their campsite, they may stop at a gas station or a grocery store. That'll be an example of when we'll be asking participants to put their masks on. Also transportation, especially on the ferry, that will be a key point where we will be asking participants to be masked as well. Testing will come into play if folks are symptomatic. And then lastly, closing day, we're still deciding on what that might look like. So kind of stay tuned for that. We are working through making that decision, and that will be communicated to you as soon as we have more to share. So that was a lot. We got to our question slide. So at this point, I'll stop sharing my screen and hand it over to you all to see if you have any other questions or things that you want us to talk about. Any burning questions, burning thoughts?
If you don't want to unmute, you can also just pop them in the chat. We'll read them out and share out on those.
Hi, this is Kari Roan, Spencer's mom. Sorry, he's in a baseball game. I think I missed the part about equipment. You have a lot of the tech equipment. I understand about buying clothes and things. Is there anything else? I know there's a deadline for equipment purchases through Manitowish. Is there something specific for Outpost?
So there is a small form that you could fill out if you're looking to get specific gear from Manitowish, and I can definitely send that over in the follow-up email that outlines it a little bit more specifically.
Thanks. I always worry, so that would be helpful. Appreciate it.
No problem.
Yeah, and once you get eyes on that what to bring list when we send it out, if you have any questions on anything on there, let us know. Camp has some gear too, so if there are things that you need that maybe you don't have, we can look into see what we have up here as well.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Great question. I do see that someone submitted a question about emergency plans, example evacuation. So I'll jump into that a little bit, just some of our emergency measures or things that we do in that realm of things. So one important piece of our supporting leaders and trips in the field is that we constantly have folks who are manning emergency phone lines. So 24 hours a day while groups are on trail, there's someone at the other end of the phone that would be able to respond or assist in the event of an emergency, or even just, hey, we have something going on, just want to chat to you about it. Our leaders in the field all carry sat phones, and then this year they will also be carrying Garmin InReach devices, which allow a text message feature as well, and also real-time location tracking, which is something we're really excited about as we've been kind of rolling that out in the last couple years. So those are two really big pieces of our emergency plans. And then also when we take calls, specifically medical related calls, we work in tandem with our health center and our nurses and EMTs and other health center staff who are in the health center, and they help advise us in those situations of, let's say someone rolls an ankle on IR. Wouldn't be the first time, probably won't be the last time. But they, leader would call and say, hey, Kenzie rolled their ankle like this, it's looking a little swollen, like, what are our steps from here? So they would advise in that capacity. And kind of beyond that, if there was something that required a participant to come out of the field, the health center in tandem with full-time staff members, including myself, would be involved in making that decision, and also communicating with you all about what's going on with your participant, what are the steps that are going to happen, and what are the logistical details that you would need to know. So that's kind of just scratching the surface of our emergency procedures. But if there's anything else specific, I'm happy to dive into other things around that nature too, if there is a question.
Hello, this is Jean Britton. I'm Jack Reeder's mom. I apologize. I'm not going to take the camera on because I'm at a track meet. But if there were an evacuation that was required, and you mentioned the trip insurance, do you guys automatically then work with the insurance company on that, or would we do that, or how does that work? Is that
Yeah, great question. So we do have kind of a little guide that we send out to parents when an evacuation is initiated that kind of outlines some of the things that the insurance company might be looking for from you. A lot of the communication, well, all of the communication with the insurance company will go between the insurance company and you as the parent or the person holding the policy. And then camp kind of acts in a supporting role of, hey, I'm looking for specific financial invoicing information for what you've paid on this trip. Or, hey, I'm looking for documentation on why the participant was removed from the trip. Those would be things that we could help you acquire, but it would be mainly you and the insurance company coming to, collect information and understand what they are looking for.
Okay, thank you. And you've had good experience with this company for the trip insurance?
Yeah, Camp Docs. We worked with Camp Docs and the insurance company that they work with. We've worked with them in, I don't know, I haven't been here that long, but as long as I've been a part of Manitowish, we've used them, had good experiences with them. Definitely the documentation piece is critical. And if we were in a situation where your child was being evacuated, we could have a phone call and really go through the specifics of each thing. So that way, Manitowish is going to help support you in that process as much as we can, because we all know that insurance companies are kind of sometimes difficult to work with, and we hope for the best, but yeah, we definitely want to help you in any way that we can.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Great questions. Any last thoughts?
I have one question on the PCR test.
Mm-hmm.
Last summer, I know y'all used a service that we had to, and so that took the test and sent it away. Is there a different process for getting results this year, or how are they doing that? Because I had a bad experience with that last year, and yeah, we sent in the tests and they ended up being thrown away, and so we had to do a lot of running around at the last minute.
Gotcha. So that's a great question. What I can say is that we're not working with Novir, the same company that we were working with last year. Ben has a lot of information on that I think he's going to be sharing in the COVID town hall. So I think I will kind of defer to him on that. But I can also follow up with him and try to get an answer for the email tomorrow too.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Yeah.
And along with that, it sounds like, last year we did the test ahead of time, and then on site, there were all those tents set up and kids got tested on site. It sounds like maybe that's not happening, the on site part.
Correct. So at this point, our protocols are saying that we will only be testing if someone is symptomatic, and it'll be advised by the health center. So there won't be the mass testing that happened last year in the tents. But once again, Ben will go into details about opening day flows and kind of more about testing in the Outpost COVID town hall on the 26th.
Great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Great questions. What else? All right, well, we've let it marinate for a little bit, but yeah, so I'll jump into my closing. I just want to thank y'all for being here, and for, asking really great questions, and for just, being here with us. I know that Kenzie and I both are very excited about this trip, about the next session of Outpost this summer. We're here to answer questions. We're here to help in whatever way we can before your trip, during your trip, and after your trip. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us. What you can expect from me is that I will send a follow-up email tomorrow that will have a recording of this webinar, along with I'll do my best to get some answers for the questions that y'all posed. And then, yeah, like I said, if you need anything, please let us know. Kenzie, any last thoughts?
Not much to add, but just to echo Lainey, thank you all for being here and sticking with us. Sometimes Tuesdays can be long. I experienced that firsthand tonight, but we really love this. We love talking about these trips, and we are so excited. So as you're kind of coming down the wire here, and as summer's getting closer and closer, any of those last minute questions, please do reach out, email us, call us. We love to chat. We love to talk all things trips and gear. So we're super excited and counting down the days up north right now as the snow's starting to melt outside.
Yes, it is. All right. Have a great night, y'all. We'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.